Tendai mwari, regai, mazwi andina taura, nefungwa, zimuma yumangu, zinziko enemi mwari. May the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight, O Mwari, O Jah of our creation. Royal elders, kings and queens, princes and princesses of great Mama Africa, I bring greetings in the most precious, powerful and bountiful name of our motherland, Alkebu-Lan, in the spirits of our most gracious ancestors, and in a prayer for oneness, hope and prosperity for all our people on the face of Mother Earth. Tendai Mwari. Today, sisters and brothers, marks the 61st anniversary of the independence of that beautiful stretch of land called the Congo, under this great Prime Minister, Baba Patrice Lumumba. Today we have a special observance to honor his legacy and all the legacies that came after him and before. We call on the spiritual leader of the Alkebu-Lan revivalist movement, brother leader Mbandaka, who will deliver some words of honor and commemoration commemoration for this great leader of the Congo, the leader for the African, for our liberation. Tendai Mwari.
Tendai Mwari, Tendai Mwari, Tendai Mwari, Mwar Mukurukuru, Mwar Mukurukuru, Mwar Mukurukuru, Uzai Muzimukuru, Uzai Muzimukuru, Uzai Muzimukuru, Tendai Mwari, Tendai Mwari, Tendai Mwari, Regai Mazwi Andino Taura, Nipungwa Zemuyo Mangu, Zinzikwene Mimwari. May the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight, O Jah of our creation. Tendai Mwari, Tendai Mwari, Tendai Mwari, Mwari kumburi rai Afrika, ngai simuzire zikarayo, nswa imtero yedu, isumuriayo itumuriako. Uyamweya komborere, uyamweya muzbende, isumuriayo itumuriako. Tendai Mwari, Tendai Mwari, Tendai Mwari. Mwari, Jah, God bless Africa. Lift up the name of Africa on high. Hear our humble prayers, oh Mwari, oh Jah. We the family of Africa, we this family of Africa. Come, Great Spirit, come and be with us. Come, Great Spirit, come and bless us. We the family of Africa. We this family of Africa. Tendai Mwari, Tendai Mwari, Tendai Mwari. Royal elders, queens and kings, princesses and princes of great Mama Africa, I bring greetings as always in the most precious, powerful and bountiful name of our motherland, Alkebu-Lan, Mama Africa, in the sacred spirits of our most gracious ancestors, and in a prayer for oneness, hope, and prosperity for all African people upon the face of Mother Earth. Rumbidzo kunamwari Africa, to the God of Africa be the glory. Giving thanks and praises unto Mwari Nyakusika, God the creator of the universe, through Mudimu Mukuru, our great ancestors, for life, for the meaning and purpose of life, for health and strength and daily food. For the rising of Amin Ra upon this day of Nia, this day of purpose. For the rising of Amin Ra upon this day when we commemorate the independence of the Congo, when we commemorate the independence of the Congo led by one of Africa's greatest sons, our beloved and eminent prophet, and king, Papa Patrice Lumumba. Hail him.
Yeah.
We honor him on this day. We honor him as a great freedom fighter, an outstanding revolutionary, a liberationist par excellence, one who paid the ultimate price for the liberation of our land and our people, the glory of our divine creator and our ancestors, and for the attainment of a much higher quality of human existence. Today we honor a martyred son of Africa who was swiftly and brutally removed from our presence because of a stance that he took on this day 62 years ago in a speech which he made to the people of the Congo that reverberated across the continent of Africa, throughout the African world, and of course throughout the entire world, shaking up the foundations of imperialism, colonialism, and neo-colonialism. It must be known, beloved brothers and sisters, that on this day, when the independence of the Congo was proclaimed, that Papa Patrice Lumumba was not scheduled to speak to the people of the Congo and the people of Africa.
That's right.
Instead, beloved, one Joseph Kasavubu, who was named ceremonial president of the Congo, was the one who was trusted to be the voice of the people of the Congo, and who debased himself and the people of the Congo by making a speech in which he hailed the Belgian king. Your Majesty, he said, Your Majesty's noble presence here on this memorable day attests once again to your concern for these people you have loved and protected. That gives us a clear indication of what the body of this speech was. Then King Baudouin, a descendant of Leopold II, the notorious, barbarous king of Belgium, who turned the Congo into a river of blood between the late 1880s, coming into the 1900s, and then perpetuated by Belgium, colonial Belgium, right on into the 1960s. Baudouin was to proclaim in his speech that the independence of the Congo is the crowning moment of the vision of King Leopold II, undertaken by him with courageous tenacity and pursued with great perseverance by Belgium. What he was glossing over, beloved brothers and sisters, was the millions of Africans who were slaughtered millions, over 10 to 15 million Africans slaughtered by Leopold II and later the government of Belgium. Papa Patrice Lumumba, a true man of the people, felt the indignity, felt, beloved brothers and sisters, the pain of our people who were insulted on that day. And notwithstanding the fact that he was not scheduled to speak, he took the responsibility to stand up like a true African man, a true African leader, commandeered the microphone and began to speak to the people. And these were his words from the speech, from that inauguration ceremony, proclaiming the independence of the Congo on June the 30th, 1960. As we listen to the speech, beloved brothers and sisters, let us understand that this, according to many observers, was a speech that signed his death warrant. It is important, therefore, that we listen carefully, for in this speech are instructions for the African world that we must observe, that we must listen to and carry through to ensure that the blood of our martyred leader, prophet, and king was not shed in vain. He begins, "Listen, men and women of the Congo, victorious independence fighters, I salute you in the name of the Congolese government. I ask all of you, my friends, who tirelessly fought in our ranks to mark this June the 30th, 1960 as an illustrious date that will be ever engraved in your hearts, a date whose meaning you will proudly explain to your children so that they in turn might relate to their grandchildren and great-grandchildren the glorious history of our struggle for freedom. Although this independence of the Congo is being proclaimed today by agreement with Belgium, an amicable country with which we are on equal terms, no Congolese will ever forget that independence was won in struggle, a persevering and inspired struggle carried on from day to day, a struggle in which we were undaunted by privation or suffering and stinted neither strength nor blood. It was filled with tears, fire, and blood. We are deeply proud of our struggle because it was just and noble and indispensable in putting an end to the humiliating bondage forced upon us. That was our lot for the 80 years of colonial rule, and our wounds are too fresh and much too painful to be forgotten. We have experienced forced labor in exchange for pay that did not allow us to satisfy our hunger, to clothe ourselves, to have decent lodgings, or to bring up our children as dearly loved ones. Morning, noon, and night, we were subjected to jeers, insults, and blows because we were Africans. Who will ever forget that the black man and woman was addressed as two? Not because we were a friend, but because the polite voice was reserved for the white man. We have seen our land seized in the name of ostensibly just laws, which gave recognition only to the right of might. We have not forgotten that the law was never the same for the white man and the black man, that it was lenient to the ones and cruel and inhuman to the others. We have experienced the atrocious sufferings, being persecuted for political convictions and religious beliefs, and exiled from our native land. Our lot was worse than death itself. We have not forgotten that in the cities, the mansions were for the whites and the tumble-down huts for the blacks, that a black was not admitted to the cinemas, restaurants, and shops set aside for Europeans, that a black traveled in the halls under the feet of the whites in these luxurious cabins. Who will ever forget the shootings which killed so many of our brothers and sisters, or the cells into which were mercilessly thrown those who no longer wish to submit to the regime of injustice, oppression, exploitation used by the colonialists as tools of their domination. All that, my brothers and sisters, brought us untold suffering. But we, who were elected by the votes of your representatives of the people, to guide our native land, we who have suffered in body and soul from the colonial oppression, we tell you that henceforth all that is finished with. The Republic of the Congo has been proclaimed, and our beloved country's future is now in the hands of its own people. Brothers and sisters, let us commence together a new struggle, a sublime struggle that will lead our country to peace, prosperity, and greatness. Together we shall establish social justice and ensure for every man and woman a fair remuneration for his and her labor. We shall show the world what the black man can do when we work in freedom. And we shall make the Congo the pride of Africa. We shall see to it that the lands of our native country truly benefit her children. We shall revise all the old laws and make them into new ones that will be just and noble. We shall stop the persecution of free thought. We shall see to it that all citizens enjoy the fullest extent the basic freedoms provided by the Declaration of human rights. We shall eradicate all discrimination, whatever its origin, and we shall ensure for everyone a station in life benefiting his human dignity and worthy of his labor and his loyalty to the country. We shall institute in the country a peace resting not on guns and bayonets, but on concord and goodwill. And in all this, my dear compatriots, we can rely not only on our own enormous forces and immense wealth, but also on the assistance of the numerous foreign states whose cooperation we shall accept when it is not aimed at imposing upon us an alien policy, but is given in a spirit of friendship. Listen to the words, beloved brothers and sisters. This man, Papa Patrice Lumumba, was serious. Even Belgium, which has finally learned the lesson of history and need no longer try to oppose our independence, is prepared to give us its aid and friendship. For that end, an agreement has just been signed between our two equal independent countries. Listen to the words carefully, beloved. I am sure that this cooperation will benefit both countries. For our part, we shall, while remaining vigilant, try to observe the engagements we have freely made. Thus, both in the internal and the external spheres, the new Congo being created by my government will be rich, free, and prosperous. But to attain our goal without delay, I ask all of you, legislators and citizens of the Congo, to give us all the help you can. I ask you all to sink your tribal quarrels. They weaken us and may cause us to be despised abroad. I ask you all not to shrink from any sacrifice for the sake of ensuring the success of all grand undertakings. Finally, I ask you unconditionally to respect the life and the property of fellow citizens and foreigners who have settled in our country. If the conduct of these foreigners leaves much to be desired, our justice will promptly expel them from the territory of the Republic. If, on the contrary, their conduct is good, they must be left in peace, for they too are working for our country's prosperity. The Congo's independence, listen to this. The Congo's independence is a decisive step towards the liberation of the entire African continent. Let me read that again. The Congo's independence is a decisive step towards the liberation of the entire African continent. Our government, a government of national and popular unity, will serve its country. We call on all Congolese citizens, men, women, and children, to set themselves resolutely to the task of creating a national economy and ensuring our economic independence. Eternal glory to the fighters for national liberation. Long live independence and African unity. Long live the independent and sovereign Congo. Tenai Mware, Tenai Mware, Tenai Mware, Ile, Ile. Giving thanks and praises, beloved brothers and sisters, those were the words, the independence speech of Papa Patrice Lumumba, that I take great pride and honor and am humbled on this day to remind us all of. And please remember, beloved, that I say to you that in that speech are instructions that we must carry forward in the name and the indomitable, unconquered spirit of this great son of Africa, whom we honor upon this day, the Congo. Even as the Congo and Mama Africa are suspended in the hands of the neo-colonialists and their imps among us. Let us be inspired by the words of Papa Patrice Lumumba upon this day. We bring to our minds the family, his children, and the spirit of his deceased wife, Mama Pauline Opango Lumumba, as we reflect on the return of his tooth to his family and the emotional trauma that will evoke or re-invoke in the hearts and minds and souls of his children and other family members at this time. Finally, beloved, I want to read to you Papa Patrice Lumumba's letter to his wife, Mama Pauline Opango Lumumba. Before he died, he was able to smuggle a letter out to her. And as it says at the heading of this letter, lest we forget the last letter written by Patrice Lumumba to his wife, Pauline, just before death on January the 17th, 1961. January the 17th, 1961. So this year marks the 61st anniversary of his brutal assassination. And I want us to think about some words that he spoke before he died. He said, they offered me millions. And I'm paraphrasing. I can guarantee I've got almost all the words correct here. They offered me millions to sell out the destiny of my people. And he said, I'm proud to say I did not take a cent. They promised me millions to sell out the destiny of my people. And I am proud to say that I did not take a cent. When he was profiled along with other leaders in Belgium in January 1960 at a conference that they were invited to determine the date of the independence of the Congo. This was an event that was used by Belgian intelligence, French intelligence, the CIA, British intelligence, to profile the potential leaders of the Congo. The conclusion they came to was that Papa Patrice Lumumba was uncorruptible. Uncorruptible. These were the words that flowed from the uncorruptible pen of Papa Patrice Lumumba to his wife, Mama Pauline Opango Lumumba, shortly before his untimely and brutal death. My beloved companion, I write you these words, not knowing whether you will receive them, when you will receive them, and whether I will still be alive when you read them. Throughout my struggle for the independence of my country, I have never doubted for a single instant that the sacred cause to which my comrades and I have dedicated our entire lives would triumph in the end. But what we wanted for our country, its right to an honorable life, to perfect dignity, to independence with no restrictions, was never wanted by Belgian colonialism and its Western allies, who found direct and indirect, intentional and unintentional support among certain high officials of the United Nations, that body in which we placed all our trust when we called on it for help. They have corrupted some of our countrymen. They have bought others. They have done their part to distort the truth and defile our independence. What else can I say? That whether dead or alive, free or in prison by order of the colonialists, it is not my person that is important. What is important is the Congo, our poor people whose independence has been turned into a cage, with people looking at us from outside the bars, sometimes with charitable compassion, sometimes with glee and delight. But my faith will remain unshakable. This is a man who's facing death for your and my liberation. It was not just the Congo, if you heard his speech in its proper context. I know and feel in my heart of hearts that sooner or later my people will rid themselves of all these enemies, foreign and domestic, that they will rise up as one to say no to the shame and degradation of colonialism and regain their dignity in the pure light of day. We are not alone. Africa, Asia, and the free and liberated peoples in every corner of the globe will ever remain at the side of the millions of Congolese who will not abandon the struggle until the day when there will be no more colonizers and no more their mercenaries in our country. I want my children, whom I leave behind and perhaps will never see again, to be told, Tendai Mwari. We are not alone. No, I want my children, whom I leave behind and perhaps will never see again, to be told that the future of the Congo is beautiful and that their country expects them, as it expects every Congolese, to fulfill the sacred task of rebuilding our independence, our sovereignty, for without justice there will be no dignity, and without independence there will be no free men. Neither brutal assault nor cruel mistreatment nor torture have ever led me to beg for mercy, for I prefer to die with my head held high, unshakable faith, and the greatest confidence in the destiny of my country, rather than live in slavery and contempt for sacred principles. History will one day have its say. It will not be the history taught in the United Nations, Washington, Paris, or Brussels, however, but the history taught in the countries that have rid themselves of colonialism and its puppets. Africa will write its own history, and both north, south, and south of the Sahara, it will be a history full of glory and dignity. Do not weep for me, my companion. I know that my country now is suffering so much, will be able to defend its independence and its freedom. Long live the Congo, long live Africa. I believe I'm about to cut out, brothers and sisters. Tendai Mwari. Long live the spirit of Papa Patrice Lumumba. Hail him on this day of the independence of Congo, proclaimed by his tongue, by his throat, by his spirit. Let us resurrect the spirit of Patrice Lumumba, the revolutionary spirit, so it can spread across the African continent and across the African world and bring us the words of the most eminent prophet and king, where we will rise like the mighty people we are and accomplish what we will. Tendai Mwari, Rumbitso Kuna Mwari, Africa, to the God of Africa be the glory. Tendai Mwari.